Brought to you direct from Studio 3B at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, the American Hardwood Advisor is your source for trends, tips, and insights into how the building industry has evolved. Join me, Steve Stack, along with guest builders and industry leaders as we talk shop and go in depth on what it takes to be the best of the best. Dive into topics like architecture, industry trends, project plans, historical tools, tricks of the trade, and life's lessons from more than 6 decades of experience in the hardwood lumber business. Hey, welcome back everybody. Studio 3B, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwood, Steve Stack, Director of Business Development, back here today, and we're going to have a great conversation with some partners from over in Western Pennsylvania that came to visit us today. Miss Amy Shields with the Allegheny Hardwoods Utilization Group, and one of our partners, business-wise, friends, family friends, Jessica Hickman Fresch from Hickman Lumber over in Emmleton. And guys, thanks for coming over today.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
Like I told you, walking back to the studio here, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have conversation, and we felt it was important to bring you folks in with your background and your expertise, and we're going to talk about, and I'm not sure which word I want to use, whether it's sustainability or a natural renewable resource. I think they cross paths. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about that today, and anything from the purpose of a forest, the benefits of a forest, whether it's being harvested or whether it's a standing forest that's been untouched, and why proper forest management is important. I know, Jess, your grandfather, great-grandfather, you know, he was a little bit ahead of his time, and he recognized that a forest needed taken care of. Mm-hmm. And you have some forestry land that you guys manage. Mm-hmm. So we'll touch on that. And Amy, with all of your affiliations within the hardwood forestry industry, mm-hmm. We're gonna tap into your thought process, okay. and you know, have some of that. And so for folks that don't understand, maybe, Amy, what does the sustainability reference?
Oh, wow, you're jumping right into the big stuff, huh? Okay, so sustainability actually means different things to different people, and it's from an industry perspective. If you ask folks inside the industry about sustainability, they'll, you know, it's sort of common knowledge. It means that we do a good job in stewarding the forests, right? We're taking care of how we harvest, why we harvest, when we harvest, the manner in which we do it. All with the idea that we're looking to ensure that there's a good hardwood forest here for future generations. So that's what sustainability means to most of the folks within the industry, right? Jess, jump in if you think you can. And one of the issues that we face, though, is sustainability means something different at times to the general public. One of the things that we often encounter is that to some folks in the general public, sustainability means I'm choosing a product because it didn't come from a harvested tree. And their idea of sustainability means I promoted not you know, harvesting or using anything from the woods, but from another line of product. And then there are folks in the general public who understand that sustainability means what we assume and know that it means within the industry, which is, you know, good, careful management of our forests.
And that just made me think of a little conversation and that we had prior to sitting down today and starting this conversation. The conversation we had, and Jess, you had a fantastic analogy, and it was comparing the lifespan of a tree, mm-hmm. its purposes, the service it provides. Mm-hmm. And you had a couple examples, but the analogy, you took it to a field of corn or a garden.
Yeah.
Go into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's, within the industry, that's kind of, it's a crop, right? I mean, even forestry is in the Department of Agriculture at the state, because it is a crop, and it is just a long-term crop where, a garden, if you're growing tomatoes, you're growing corn, you harvest it each year. With a forest, you might harvest it, you might go in every 10 years to pick out the weeds. That's how often you pick out the weeds. And then you pick out your mature trees to harvest and that ready to serve an extra purpose that, the wood product then is going to last another 100 years. It's going to outlast, a lot of lifespans. Trees die on their own, so if we use it, pick at that tree while it's ripe and it's mature, and we can utilize that wood just like you'd utilize a piece of fruit or a vegetable from a garden, and unless if we have people, we need to live with the environment and work with it. So that's kind of, trees are renewable, and they're growing back, and we're growing. Pennsylvania, I think we're growing at least 3 times as many trees as we harvest.
Yeah, I think double is our
double.
Yeah, our estimate.
So
say that one more time.
Well, the official line is that we are growing back double the amount of trees that we're harvesting on an annual basis. And that is true. I mean, we do have some forest conditions that are maybe causing certain trees or certain varieties of trees to grow back a little more prolifically. So I don't think you'll get consensus that even though we're growing back twice as much as we're harvesting, that what we're growing back is exactly what we want. We have some work to do there, but yeah, we're definitely harvesting less than we're growing, and we do have sustainable forestry practices.
And there was a UN report that Jonathan Geyer, he references a lot. He works for the Pennsylvania Hardwood Development Council, and it's the biggest threat to Pennsylvania's forest is actually underutilization. So these trees are dying because we've got a lot of mature forest, right? And so the trees are dying at a faster rate than we're harvesting them. So when the cool thing about the forest, and one of the reasons that we need forests is, right, trees are taking in carbon dioxide and they give us oxygen, right? We need forests for that. So we can take in more carbon, and then the trees are storing that carbon, right? Well, when you cut down that tree, that carbon is stored. So that carbon's stored in this wall, it's stored in this bench, it's stored in the doors you make, right? So it's stored. If that tree dies and we don't utilize that wood, that carbon's released back in the atmosphere. So it's I mean, that's the natural process of it, but right now the big thing is how can we reduce the carbon in the atmosphere? So by using wood products, we're keeping that carbon stored in a product that's going to last 100+ years.
Right.
And the smaller, younger trees are absorbing carbon at a faster rate. So when you cut down a tree, you're growing more trees that are actually taking it in at a faster rate. So you're still storing that carbon, and you're taking it in quicker by growing younger trees. So by using wood, it's actually a carbon negative product.
Right.
Compared to an alternative, you don't use wood, you have to use something, and you're going to use a plastic product.
Right.
So, and that's terrible for the environment.
Okay, so and you guys referenced the usage versus what is actively growing, and I've seen it, whether it was in print or somebody mentioned it. The total acres of forestry in Pennsylvania, for example, today versus 150 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we have just under 17 million acres of forested land in Pennsylvania.
And Pennsylvania was totally clear cut. I mean, that was before there was a sustainability factor. I mean, it was clear cut after the Civil War. And when William Penn, which Pennsylvania is named after, Penn's Woods, do you know that? Yeah. It wasn't as much of a hardwood forest. It was more white pine and hemlocks, and they clear cut that, and hardwoods is what predominantly grew back. We kind of got lucky as a country that we had really great hardwoods growing back, and that was just a side effect of it. And we don't manage like that anymore. I mean, that was, back in the day, they just kept moving west, cut all trees in Pennsylvania, we'll go to Ohio.
Right. We went through a chemical wood era, that even took out the remaining trees beyond that. So, yeah, I mean, with 17 million acres of forest land in Pennsylvania, and the fact that it's growing back, twice as much as we're harvesting, although we know there's some nuance to that, we definitely have a sustainable model in Pennsylvania. Everything can improve, every process can improve. Going back to Jess's comment about, our Pennsylvania was the black forest when settlers first arrived here. And it was actually all 90% softwood forest. It was hemlock and spruce and pine, and and harvesting all of that material to build the country, really for ship masts in the beginning, and then to fuel the building of the country. Then we moved into the era of the tanneries. People don't realize that fueled the Industrial Revolution, because back then all of our equipment was belt driven.
Right.
Where did all that come from? They were leather belts that fueled all of that. So the tanning era was a huge deal. So all of that work led to our forests being basically clear cut and stripped bare. And you can see some pictures of that, the results of that. you will see those quite a bit. But the last 100 years has been all about conservation and about changing the way that forestry is practiced here in Pennsylvania.
And I'm sitting here listening, and I'm thinking, our forefathers in this country were some pretty intelligent people in creating some of our national forest areas and so forth, and like Pennsylvania, across this country. But now, in the past 100, 120 years, whatever, it's become a concerted effort throughout the industry to manage the forest lands, the natural resource, a renewable natural resource. So you took me up to the Black Forest and the hemlocks and the firs and the spruce. What hardwood species does Pennsylvania produce today?
So we have, I think, 15 different hardwood species growing in Pennsylvania. There are about 10 that are the predominant species. Cherry, well, actually, alphabetical order, right? Ash, beech, birch, cherry, hard maple, hickory, soft maple, red oak, white oak, and walnut. I think that's pretty much our list of our predominant species. Soft maple is actually the highest percentage of our hardwood forests in Pennsylvania. I think it's about 15% of our hardwood forests. We're known in the region, especially where Jess and I are from, for cherry, black cherry. Our region used to be called, and is still referred to as, the black cherry capital of the world. We produce about 30% of the black cherry that's harvested in the United States, but we are number one in quality for a variety of factors, which has a lot to do with our
and
demographic.
With cherry, as other hardwood species, but cherry has some of the most beautiful natural Mother Nature given characteristics of a lot of the hardwoods.
It does.
The natural colorization, the subtleness of the grain, things like that, and it's funny how different regions of the country are recognized for a certain species. Like the hickories. We go down south a little bit, and we get into the hickories. We go out west. You get some of the premier white oak.
Yeah. In Pennsylvania's white oak's good too.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of subspecies of white oak. It's mostly the Quercus alba, with the white oak in our area. And red oak is nice too. The tighter growth rings, and northern red oak. We've got some pretty oaks in our country too.
And then we talk about sustainability and what other. I know, Amy, you have a list of affiliations that to be congratulated on. As far as education, we can talk about educating the landowners. We can talk about educating the general public. We can talk about educating children, the next generations. Right? What type of programs and things along that line are you involved in?
We do. So the Allegheny Hardwood Utilization Group is one of 3 hardwood utilization groups, or HUGs. We're known as HUGs in the state of Pennsylvania. We're affiliated with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. So in Pennsylvania, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is really mandated to care for the trees, the forests themselves, but the commodity of hardwood falls under the Department of Agriculture. So I work through the Department of Ag and private industry specifically in northwestern and north central Pennsylvania. One of the biggest programs that we work in conjunction with is something called the Pennsylvania Woodmobile. So it's a traveling exhibit that is funded through the Department of Agriculture and private industry. There are contributions of wood, product, and material within that van from about 30 different companies in Pennsylvania. And we travel the state with that. It's got everything inside from the history of Pennsylvania's forests to some really great demonstrations about some still shots of property that had been harvested, and photographs have been taken from the exact same spot over a series of 50 or 60 years. So you can actually see my property was cut, but you can see how your hardwood trees will grow back in a carefully managed forest. We've got a lot of information in there about invasive species and pests that are after our trees in PA. And then you come down the other side of the wall and it's all about the industry, who works in the forest products industry in Pennsylvania, the products we produce, where to get in touch with a consulting forester, a logger. We've got a beautiful Martin guitar in the Woodmobile that's made from trees that were harvested from Hurricane Sandy. So it's a really amazing educational exhibit. And in conjunction with that, in our region specifically, we'll bring the Woodmobile in and then we'll do a program called Project Learning Tree, which is also a national hardwood associated, not so much a curriculum, but a series of activities that you can do with students of all ages, actually from preschool to high school age. And we'll do those quite often with school groups and civic groups that ask us to come in and do presentations on everything from how trees grow, how people are involved in that management process, to really just the function of a tree and the process it takes as it grows. We talk a lot about assumptions and people's feelings and thoughts on forests and the benefits of them. So we really just cover a wide variety of topics with people and really just try to bring awareness to the fact that the forest products industry is very active and concerned about promoting forests, forest health, forests for future generations, and why the products we produce are a key component to how those forests are managed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Amy touched on the Woodmobile, and I've had the opportunity on a few different occasions to visit this. It's a great educational tool, and it's a fun educational tool, the way it's presented. Where can they get a glimpse of it? Can they see that on your website, Amy? Yeah,
actually you can go to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and just type into the search bar Woodmobile, and it's got its own page. It's a well-loved entity. It's got its own page there, and actually you can see the schedule is posted to the public, so that you can see where it's gonna be. They take it, I don't even know, I think 300 or 400 events in the span of a year. A lot of fairs, a lot of festivals, and a lot of schools. So
I'll tell you what we're going to do, Amy. Before you get out of here today, we're going to discuss a couple dates, and we would love to have the Woodmobile over to a little fall festival that we have here at Baird Brothers. So we're going to talk about that.
Okay, that'd be great.
We're going to talk about that. You, Jess, fourth generation, right? You were brought up on sawdust.
Yeah, but I never thought I couldn't wait to get out of Western Pennsylvania. Growing up, it's just, I was small town looking back. I was like, yeah, it was a good place to be raised. But yeah, I wanted to get to the big city. I studied international business and Spanish. I never thought I was going to be working in the wood industry. But, life brought me back around to it. And I, told my dad I'd give him a couple years and help out. And that was 10 years ago. But, that's just something like being in the industry. I mean, it's something that it's easy for me to work with because it's my family business, which has a lot of with that too. But then also I'm not like never feel like a used car salesman. You know what I mean? Like, we're making a good product. We've got something I believe in. It's good for the environment. It's a good product for people's homes. It's, like I'm confident in selling it, and then the industry is full of a lot of good people, from the contractors to I'd worked with a lot of architects and designers, and then other people in the wood industry. It's just a really good industry to be part of. And so I got sucked in. I think I'm in it.
It was a good place to land.
It was, yeah.
It's a good place to land.
I'm very fortunate that, I've had the opportunity, but it's like, it's with having my own family in general. But I mean, it's a lot of people. We've got a new salesman working for us that has no wood industry, but he wanted to stick in the area, and he's a smart kid, went to 2-year business school and started selling for us, and he's awesome, and it's great, and it's I can see he's made friends with contractors. He's traveled, he's got to go to New Orleans to visit, and he gets to do all kinds of cool stuff, and it's just a good industry to be in.
Very much so, in tying Hickman lumber and Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods back to the sustainability. A lot of it comes down to, at the end of the day, we want to leave the smallest footprints, right? And I know you practice it in your logging operations, in your sawmill operations, and some of the manufacturing, as do we, where I'm gonna throw out a term, off rips, right? And folks at home, when you have a wood plank and you're trying to create 2 parallel lines down the length of the board, and you have that little off rip, it's called. We use that.
Oh yeah, there's nothing goes to waste.
Right? We try and use every square inch of that board, of that log.
From the tree, from the time that it's in the forest, when the tree's harvested, and we leave the tops of the trees down, because that actually protects the saplings. So we've done studies where we've done little small fences compared to a treetop that's left. And deer love to eat oak trees, especially. Yeah. That's what we try to grow a lot, is the oak trees, right? Deer love them. So we hunt, most importantly. Get rid of the deer, but keep the treetops down, and that helps protect the saplings when they're growing. So that's why those are left. In the sawmill, then the bark, when it's debarked, that's sold to landscapers, so they utilize that. The green sawdust from the sawmill, that goes to power the dry kilns. The chips, those go to make, there's paper factories being made with that. And then every part of the trees used, and then, in the secondary manufacturing, you guys are using, the scraps, but it makes pellets out of the sawdust for wood burners. And it's too expensive and it's too valuable of a product to waste anything.
Well, that's it. It is a very valuable natural resource, and we literally can use everything from that tree.
Yep.
To 100% utilization, right? And in your business, as in Baird's business, power generation, we use it as a fuel source also to heat our facility, our dry kilns. There's nothing goes to waste. And not a lot of natural resources are used.
That's right.
To that level.
To that extent, right.
And you touched on something with a little smirk, and the deer, and we hunt the deer.
Well, if you care about the trees, then you got to save the trees by, fighting what's eating them, right? And then we obviously eat the deer anyways.
But there we go. There we go. Talking about all the critters that survive in the forest.
Right. Yep. And that uneven aged managed forest too, and that's something that the sustainability factor, you're doing that selective harvesting, you're trying to create that uneven age management, and there's all kinds of, the birds and the mammals, and
that's one of those things when I was mentioning, Pennsylvania has some work to do because our forests were cut kind of all at the same time. We did end up sort of then with all the trees were the same age, and so they get to a certain age, and then folks start cutting them again, and so we do have an issue with even aged forest management in Pennsylvania. But that tide is turning, and that's one of the continued efforts under sustainability that our industry is really working on, is creating that next that better mix of young, middle-aged, and old forests, because it's good for the forest health, it's good for the carbon and climate conversation, and it's good for the industry. We want to make sure that we've got a continuous We've got a continuous
Yep.
supply of raw material.
And to your comment, Amy, and to yours, Jess, and I'm just sitting here thinking, forest management, wildlife management,
Yep, they go hand in hand.
right? They work together.
Yep. And with that too, so in Pennsylvania, I think it's like at least 70% of the forest is privately owned, right? Is that
Yep,
around that
about
number?
700,000.
And so with that, I try to explain to people as well, you know, and a lot of that now is being passed down. It's like, oh, so, you know, my grandfather bought this property, right? Bought these woods, and now it's split up between half a dozen or more grandkids. What are we going to do with this property? Do we sell it? Do we keep it as forest? We are paying taxes on it. It costs money to keep it as a forest. So how are they able to afford to keep it as forest? Because you get a developer that comes in or somebody wants to do something. How can we keep that, you know, that owns, you know, maybe 20 acres, 50 acres. It's not a big property, but, you know, we need, you know, it's all mixed up with families. So by getting them to manage their forest and getting them to add value to it, where you go in every 10 years, you take a few trees out, you give them a check that helps pay for their taxes over the next 10 years, they can keep that land as forest, as opposed to like, you know, oh, we need some money, let's just sell it to, you know, this housing development, and then it's clear cut and the forest is gone, and, you know, there's a paved parking lot over it, and like nothing's going to grow back on a concrete, right? But if it gets cut and managed, it's keeping to grow back, it's keeping the animal, wildlife, you know, and so that's where, you know, giving value to that tree by purchasing, by having consumers using more wood products, it's actually keeping more forest as forest.
There are a lot of programs emerging too that are helping. You know, one of the terms that you'll hear a lot is high grading, and that's when someone goes into a forested area and they just say, we're going to take out everything 14 inches and larger in DBH. That's not a process that promotes a good forest going forward. But it is, as Jess said, it's expensive to keep forest land in forest land, right? So people can be motivated by the economics of it. But having that conversation with a consulting forester or a trained forester really leads the landowner to have a better conversation about all of the benefits of owning forest land. And there are programs developing that are going to assist private landowners in doing a little bit better job of managing those forests, doing the pruning, going in, controlling the vegetation and the invasive species, and taking out a few trees to thin the crop, as we will, here and there along the journey to when there might be a better, more economically beneficial timber harvest at some point, but doing that work in the ground to create that uneven aged forest, even on that private forest landowner's piece, is something that we're working towards in Pennsylvania, and a lot of programs are emerging to help forest landowners do that work.
I'm listening to you, Amy, and the practices and principles of forestry, and I'm sitting here thinking, and you alluded to it earlier, Jess. You have a forest, a managed forest, and I love the word harvest. We're in the middle of a corn or soybean field here, depending on what what year it is, right, on the crop rotation, and harvesting. We identify with that. It's done in a proper way. That tree gives us its lifespan, providing for us, providing for wildlife. And then the beauty of this natural resource, there comes a time, not that we don't enjoy it when we're out for a hike going through the woods, but even when it is harvested, it still serves us. And Jess, you mentioned the beauty of the woodwork, the beauty of the hardwood floor. Touching on the hardwood floors, what kind of benefits does that bring into a home?
Well, and that's something that's kind of the newer study that I think is really cool. I've been interested a lot. It's called Biophilic Design. And that's the idea of bringing natural products into your home. And it's actually, they're doing studies that it's helping, you know, in hospitals and things, they're seeing people heal faster. And kids in school that have more wood and natural products, they pay attention and can focus longer, and they're more creative. And so there's actually these health benefits.
Reduces stress
Reduces
levels.
stress, yeah. So there are actually these, and, you know, I mean, so there's, I don't know, maybe it's not common knowledge now, but like you can go out in the wood and walk in the woods and you feel better. Like in Japan, they actually prescribe people that are stressed and everything to go and do a forest bathing, and that's just going to spend times in the woods. It's like their doctor's like, hey, like you need to take a step back and walk in the woods. And so some of those same benefits that they're getting from being out in the woods, they're starting to see when you're using these wood products in your home, actually helps with your health as well. And so it's, you know, it's more than, you know, and if you're at a trade show, and I'm sure you know this, when there's a piece of wood there, people come up and touch it, you know, they feel connected to it. They're like, wow, this is a real wood. People just feel connected to it. Right. And that's just this natural thing. And now there's these kind of more hard studies that are going into it, telling us why we get this connected to it, and actually these benefits.
In speaking to people at the trade shows and so forth that you mentioned, in relationship to hardwood flooring or a nickel gap siding like behind us here, I tell folks it's still a living piece of wood. It's porous. It reacts to what it is exposed to.
Yeah.
But managed properly, there's that word managed again, from forestry to on our walls or on our floors, managed properly, it just keeps giving back.
That's right.
You know, you and I, it's our livelihoods, you know, wood products. And one of the easiest sells to people with our wood flooring products that Hickman lumber jumps into and Baird jumps into at different niche areas, there's nothing like the warmth and the feel of a true 3/4 inch hardwood floor.
Right.
Yep.
And how long does it last?
I mean, there's castles in Europe that are hundreds of years,
Right.
you know, with wood floors. I mean, easily 100 years,
Yeah.
you know, for a solid wood floor, you know, if not longer. And furniture, antique furniture, you know, I mean, it lasts, you know, and
one of the things that one of the groups that our organization is involved in is a national effort called the Real American Hardwood Coalition that is working to bring a national effort of consumer awareness around the benefits of choosing wood products, solid wood products for your home, how people make that journey as they plan and design a project, why they make the decisions they make at the end of that journey on whether to choose a solid product or whether to choose an alternative. But really the overall goal of it is to promote the benefits of using solid hardwood products. We did quite a bit of research back in 2020 with almost 2,000 consumers, asking them about this, why, you know, how they imagine their projects, where do they get their inspiration for their projects, how do they, you know, pick out the design elements that they're interested in, and overwhelmingly, they were drawn to the beauty of wood. That was already a given. They were drawn to what it looks like, what it feels like, the warmth that it exudes. There's really, it came back almost unanimously as the gold standard. Then we moved into how do you make your final decision on what you're actually going to purchase? Well, there's where we kind of have a departure because the hardwood industry has not really kept up with some of our alternative substitute products in promoting that we're very durable, as you talked about before. It might be porous, but there are still, you know, ways that you can make your hardwood product very durable. It is the best value for the dollar because it can be sanded and painted and resanded, and you know, you can find a way to repurpose that and extend the longevity of your product. So the value, the durability, that home health connection was key. People were really drawn to how does choosing this product actually benefit me specifically? How does it make a safer and healthier environment for my family? And so a lot of our alternative products have resins and, you know, give off gases and things that really aren't very safe for your family to be around, where wood products don't generally have that. And then the last piece was that connection to sustainability, which we found was not a big economic driver for people. They were interested in sustainability and what their concept of sustainability was, but they weren't really willing to pay extra for that sustainability. But if you change that message to really connect folks to their home health, and really now we have an opportunity with the climate and carbon connection, sustainability is going to take on a better message that will resonate with people.
I think we're seeing it in this country there's a lot of great manufacturing companies in the United States, whether it be in the lumber industry or any of a dozen other industries where there's manufacturing involved. And people have to appreciate the practices that Hickman Lumber implements,
Yep.
the practices that some of the loggers and foresters in Western Pennsylvania implement, and those same practices that once, and I say when we receive a load of lumber, we accept that load of lumber and the responsibilities that go along with it. And that's how you have to approach it. And if we can get enough cheerleaders, Amy, right?
Yeah.
And we never advertise that we're the cheapest guy on the block.
Right.
A quality product from a quality, renewable, natural resource. And I always go back to the word value. And so, get the pom-poms out.
Yep.
Let's keep.
Yeah, this
you know,
effort is really gaining momentum. There are every hardwood producing state in the country is on board with this effort. We've got, I think, 26 or 28 hardwood associations, everything from a regional in-state association like mine, all the way up to the biggest players in the game like NHLA and AHMI, Hardwood Manufacturers Association. Everyone who's anyone in the hardwood industry is getting on board with this effort right now, and I really think it's going to pick up steam
Like the
and
Got Milk
momentum.
campaign, That's
Yep.
what we're going.
Yeah, we just hired. So going back to those principles, that research showed folks were already on board with the beauty of solid hardwood products, but they need a little convincing when it comes to the durability, the value for the dollar, the sustainability, and the home health connection. And we've found that in their inspiration, they're looking at social media, the Pinterest and Houzz and HGTVs and this old house of the world to get their inspiration. And so we're going to meet them there with a social media campaign that drives folks to a .com site. Well, they'll learn all about the benefits of using hardwoods, and we've hired a company called Canvas United, who is behind the Got Milk campaign. So these are world-class professionals who are really going to make big things happen in our industry, and it's going to really be a great program.
Here we are, and this is one of the reasons Studio 3B was constructed.
Yep.
Education.
Yep.
Education. And I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't throw in common sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, generations ahead of us, they knew that you didn't go in and cut that entire forest down. You went in and, for lack of a better term, you cherry picked it, right? Yeah, and so it's common sense through management, through education, and because the three of us survive in this industry with this natural resource, it's the beauty of the product.
And I think old timers realize that the longevity and the value with that, especially, it's just like, okay, I'm going to build a house and I'm going to build it to last, where, so many houses are being built now with, how can we build a house that lasts 5 years and everything's replaced in 5 years? It's just kind of absurd, this like mentality that we have in a lot of the disposable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll buy some chairs and then we'll just put them to the curb in 3 years. It's like, no, let's buy something that lasts and you can pass down, buy used, buy real wood products that last, and then you don't need as much, like.
I go back to the furniture industry.
Yeah.
And there's still some nice quality new furniture out there, but if I want a good quality built piece of furniture, I'm going to the antique store.
Yeah. Or to the craftsman and having something made custom that you're looking for.
Right. And to the old timers, to the old craftsmen.
Yeah.
They were wise. You and I live on it, whether it's white oak, red oak, quartered rift, right?
Yep.
A lot of those old furniture pieces, they were quartered and rift, whether it be white or red oak. Why? Because they identified the stability of the product, the longevity of it, the durability of it, and they put their blood, sweat, and tears into that project.
Yep.
And they knew it was staying together.
Well, and the nice thing about a wood product is too, especially like a wood floor or even furniture, you can paint it, you can change the look of it, right? Because like styles change and everybody, and that's, okay, fashions change, things change, but you can have a real wood something and change the look of it 100% without throwing away a product and getting a totally new product, right? So that's the kind of the other beauty of wood is that it's versatile and it's timeless. I mean, like this wall is never going to go out of style. Like it's beautiful, right? It's
and to your point, we did a splash of paint with a natural wood product beside it, and they complement one another.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
And if styles change, you can paint this a different color. You can sand it down.
Tweak the
you
color,
can
right?
Just
right?
put a clear
exactly.
stain. Yep.
Exactly. So, ladies, thank you so much for stopping over today.
Yeah.
I hope you had fun.
Yeah, we did. Thank you.
I told you it'd be easy. So
We don't really have much problem talking, I guess, do we?
We're good at talking.
ladies and gentlemen, Amy Shields with the Allegheny Hardwood Utilization Group, and Jessica Hickman Fresch with Hickman Lumber, partners of Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Follow along with them, follow our socials, and we're going to have some more conversation with you guys coming down the road, okay?
All right, okay.
So stay tuned, folks. More to come. Thanks for stopping by Studio 3B. See you soon. For all you folks listening, thanks for talking shop with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the American Hardwood Advisor series, give us a like and subscribe. For more tips, projects, and inspiration, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or at BairdBrothers.com. Until next time,